The reticular activating system, or also called RAS for short, is one of the most fascinating and crucial mechanisms in your brain when it comes to understanding how you create your own reality. It's not a concept that you can just affirm or visualize your way into, but it's a very real network of neurons which are located in your brainstem that determine what information from the outside world even reaches your conscious awareness in the first place. And it's so interesting. I cannot emphasize that enough. Now, in simple terms, it's basically your brain's filter and it decides what you notice and what you ignore. Every second, your nervous system receives roughly 11 million bits of information, which come through sensations or sounds or colors, movements, emotions, thoughts, all the things. But your conscious mind can only process around 40 of them. 40. And the reticular activating system is what makes that decision. So it determines which 40 pieces of data out of those 11 million bits are actually relevant to you, based entirely on what you have taught your brain to believe is important. And what you have taught your brain to believe is important is a reflection of your subconscious identity, who you are, your programs, your conditionings in your subconscious. In other words, your RAS is not just showing you reality, it's showing you your version of your reality. It filters the world through the lens of your conditioning, your beliefs, your thoughts, and therefore your identity. So if your subconscious identity is, in that case, rooted in lack or scarcity, negativity, or fear, that's when your RAS will highlight every piece of evidence in your life that supports that story. So you will notice the bills, but not the opportunities. You will notice the criticism, but not the praise that you're getting. You will notice all the rejection that you're facing, but not the love that you're actually getting. The hate, but not the encouragement that you're getting. And while you might think the positives are inexistent in your life because you're looking at the glass half empty, it's actually not that the other things don't exist. It's just that your brain doesn't register them as relevant. So when the glass is half empty, it's also half full. You just don't register that part. So they get filtered out because they don't match your internal programming. And that's why you don't see the good when the bad happens, because you're biased in that moment. And this is where also the concept of the observer effect comes into play, which is something that both ancient teachings like the Kabbalion must read that book, and modern teachers like Dr. Joe Dispenza have often spoken about extensively. In quantum physics, the observer effect describes how the very act of observation changes the outcome of what is being observed, right? On a scientific level, this means that subatomic particles don't exist in a fixed state until they get observed. So they exist only as a potential, right? Now, on an energetic level in that moment, this explains why where your attention goes, energy flows. What you focus on becomes more defined and more tangible, more real in your experience because your observation gives it its form, right? And the RAS works in a very similar way on the level of your consciousness. Let me put it like this. Your attention is the observer. Your beliefs and emotions are the frequency. And your perception, which is what you allow yourself to see, is the collapse of that potential into reality. This is why when you focus on limitation, your energy and perception organize around that limitation. All you experience then is limitation and sabotage and failure and lack and all of these negative aspects that hang together with that. But when you focus on possibility, your mind literally begins to bring that possibility into being for you. You become a living match to everything that you once thought was out of reach because you're being it. You are literally making your desired reality your actual reality, which means that reality, just like your subconscious, is not fixed. It just responds to your internal focus. And that's why when you start rewiring your subconscious and shifting your identity, your reality begins to change as well. Not because the world suddenly becomes different, right? Or because you had the power to change the world, but because your brain starts to perceive differently. You begin to notice what was always there, but actually hidden beneath the filter of your past conditioning. And this is when you broaden and expand your mind, right? And this is the true science of manifestation. It's not about attracting something out of thin air. It's about aligning your internal frequency so that your brain can finally recognize, focus on, and act upon the opportunities that match that desired reality that you want, regardless of what it is. Your RAS is directly connected to your limbic system, which, if you haven't watched my previous videos, is the emotional center of your brain. And I'm going to link the video right here. This means that emotion is what programs it, right? You don't rewire your filter through logic. I will keep mentioning it in every one of my videos. You rewire it through feeling, through intense emotional feeling. Your RAS pays attention to what's emotionally charged. And this is why trauma imprints so deeply, because the emotion was so intense, right? That your RAS learned, oh, okay, this is important. Watch for this forever, right? This is what we need to remember. This is our program now. And this is also why consistent emotional rehearsal through embodiment and visualization works so powerfully, because the RAS doesn't distinguish between what's real and what's just vividly imagined. Your subconscious doesn't know the difference. If you repeatedly visualize and emotionally embody the state of your desired identity in detail, your RAS will begin to treat that new reality as familiar, as something to prioritize, as something that is your default mode, as something that is normal. And that's also why affirmations without embodiment, so without that emotional charge, don't work. If you say, I'm confident, I'm abundant, I'm loved, but your body is still flooded with the chemistry and the charges of the electrical charges and energetic charges of fear and doubt and shame, limitation, like I mentioned before, lack, scarcity, all of those negative things, your RAS doesn't register those words as true. It's just empty words in that moment. And this is why affirmations are not considered to be subconsciously rewiring methods, right? Your RAS still continues to highlight situations that confirm your emotional state, not your verbal one. But if you feel abundance, even before the money arrives, your RAS starts seeking and noticing the people and the opportunities and ideas that align with that feeling. And this is why visualization is such a powerful tool to reprogram your subconscious and rewire it, and why it actually works. But it's also why it works for some and for others it doesn't. It just depends on your emotional embodiment while utilizing those tools. And all of this is literally neurobiology, right? Your focus literally instructs your brain to build new perceptual pathways, to build new neural pathways. So when I tell you that what you focus on expands, it's not just a motivational phrase, right? It's not another feel-good quote. It's how your reticular activating system functions. It's how your brain functions. And your focus is the instruction manual in that case for your brain's filter. Every thought that you repeat, every emotional pattern that you indulge in, every story that you identify with is teaching your RAS what to find more of, what to look more for. And if your internal headline is life is hard, your RAS will show you proof of struggle everywhere you go. But if your headline becomes life supports me, life loves me, all of those things, your RAS will start showing you synchronicities, opportunities, people, connections that were always there, but just invisible force before. And this is why nervous system regulation is crucial to this process as well. Because when your body is dysregulated, your RAS narrows its focus to survival cues. So it scans for danger and not possibility. And that's when you become hyper aware of threats and judgment and what could go wrong, right? Your perception literally collapses into a certain tunnel vision of self-protection. But when you're regulated, when your nervous system feels safe, that's when your reticular activating system opens. So it expands your awareness, allowing you to notice potential, opportunity, and connection. And your creative brain comes online in that moment. You can see options instead of obstacles, solutions instead of problems. So you shift from problem oriented to solution oriented. And this is the neurological foundation of expansion in that moment. And I want you to think about this in your own life. Have you ever bought a new car or decided you wanted a specific model and suddenly you start seeing it everywhere, right? That's your RAS at work. Those cars were always there, but your brain just didn't register them as relevant until your internal focus shifted. And you can try that at home. Think of maybe you want to see a green Tesla, some car like that. Watch how many times you're going to see it within the next days or weeks. And the same principle applies to everything else, to love, to abundance, to success, to growth, to healing. All those things, once you emotionally and cognitively mark something as important, your RAS works behind the scenes to bring it into your awareness over and over and over again. That's why you keep finding only toxic and trash men out there also, by the way. Because all you think about is how men are trash. Everybody cheats, nobody's loyal, everybody's toxic, everybody's addicted to drama. That's your belief system. And guess why you're attracting those things? Because of exactly that. Why do you keep experiencing those things? Because of your reticular activating system. This is why your identity, who you believe yourself to be, is the ultimate programming language of your reticular activating system. The brain craves coherence. It wants your perception to match your self-concept. So if your self-concept says, I'm not worthy, your reticular activating system will help you find evidence that reinforces unworthiness, because that feels internally consistent. What is happening? You get into a relationship with a narcissist, you find bad friends that treat you like trash, your family doesn't deem you as important and neglects you. All of those things, your job will leave you feeling unworthy. It's not punishing you, it's protecting you from contradiction in that moment. But if you consciously shift your self-concept to, I am worthy, I am powerful, I am safe to receive, I am abundant, I am easy to be loved, and you pair that belief with consistent emotional embodiment, your reticular activating system begins to align your perception with that new truth. What happens? You get new opportunities, you find healthy love, you find great friends, you find success in your job, all the things. Your environment doesn't change first. Your filter does. You do. And because your filter determines what you act on, your external world eventually catches up to that. You can think of the RAS as the bridge between your subconscious identity and your physical reality again. It's the mechanism that translates what you believe into what you actually see, what you actually experience. And that means that healing and manifestation are not separate processes, they are one and the same. Healing reprograms the filter. Manifestation is what happens once it is reprogrammed. So when you're doing your healing and embodiment work, your visualization, your daily rewiring practices, whatever that looks like for you, understand that you are not pretending to be someone new. You're literally teaching your brain to see life through the eyes of your next level self, because you're being it, you're becoming it. It's not faking until you make it. You're telling your RAS, this is what's important now. This is who I am now. Show me the evidence that matches this. Because I believe in it. And it will. Because your brain always follows the instructions your identity gives it. And this is why inside my Coming Home to Yourself membership, I teach you not just the science of healing and rewiring your mind and how to do that, but the embodiment practices that actually make it stick. Because a lot of people manage to do it once or twice, but how can you actually manage to hold that long term? Because it's not enough to know these concepts intellectually. Right? A lot of you, I'm sure, have a lot of intellectual knowledge. You have to live them, though, feel them, breathe them until your entire nervous system, including your reticular activating system, aligns with your new reality. And when that happens, you stop chasing evidence and it starts showing up everywhere. You stop fighting your brain and it starts working for you. This is exactly what we do in my membership. This is exactly what I'm teaching you to learn, to do, to apply yourself. Not just another intellectual course that gives you more knowledge. No, I'm teaching you the practices so that you can keep on doing it yourself. Your reticular activating system is not something mystical or out of reach. It's the part of you that decides what becomes your world, who you become. It's how your brain takes the infinite and turns it into your experience. Train it consciously, feed it the right emotions, pair your embodiment with your focus, and it will do what it's designed to do. Filter your world to match your truth. That's not luck. That's also not coincidence. That is self mastery in action. Get inside my membership.